It's
think I
Lit
did that
Book
last time.
Reviews. How'd that sound?
Sound like Ski Yeet.
Whoa,
You heard
dude,
that
come
song?
on. Chill out.
You know about Ski
Nah, I don't know about that. What is that?
Yeet? No, I can't sing it.
It's Lit Book Reviews. We are here again. With me, as always, is Max Freed. I am Spencer Strider. And because we are out of the playoffs, the Atlanta Braves got daddied by the Phillies. We've got some more time to do our book review podcast YouTube thing here. So if you're watching on YouTube, appreciate the views. If you're listening, appreciate the listens. The Braves will be back very soon.
It's been a great year. Shout out Ronald. I know you're watching.
A historic year and a historically awful postseason at the same time.
8 runs. Dude, that boy who came up to plate at the end, I'd never seen him a day in my life. I also don't claim to watch
Vaughn
baseball
Grissom.
that often. Yeah, dude, that guy looked like he was put in a very unfortunate position. I saw where his stat was before that at bat, he had 3 postseason at bats, all strikeouts, and then struck out that time. It's like,
so now he's got 4.
I will say that first pitch was not in the little strike box that
the
sportscast puts on there, but
yeah, I mean,
it is what it is. I'm striking.
What are you going to do? We're up against the Phillies and the umps, so what are you going to do, you know? But anyway, we're back here to talk about books, not baseball. So
books.
We're going to continue on with one that falls into the category of books that we often mention, The Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson. Today we're discussing book 4, Rhythm of War by Brandon Sanderson. So I just finished this book a couple days ago. And how long ago was it that you read it?
I'm going to look, actually. Because I should know. You keep talking. I'll pull it up on Goodreads.
Yeah, Rhythm of War, book 4 in the Stormlight Archive. This has 125,000 ratings on Goodreads. It's got a 4.62 overall rating, Goodreads Choice Award for Best Fantasy. And, you know,
I finished
it's obviously
April
very
20th.
popular.
Huh? Finished it April 20th.
April 20th. So, yeah, it's been a little while. But, yeah, I just finished it recently, so I'm now caught up to where we are at in the Stormlight Archive. And yeah, that's what we're going to discuss today. Andrew's been waiting on this one a long time. I think you would have finished Rhythm of War before I even started Words of Radiance, I feel like.
Yeah,
Maybe not quite, but it felt that way.
It's at least close. Yeah, I think I was reading it when you were reading. I think I was just too ahead of you.
Yeah, all I know is that both in Words of Radiance and Oathbringer, I would say stuff too, and you'd be like, "Oh yeah,
doesn't matter anymore."
I can't say just so much that you just could not talk about. But we're here now, so we're gonna non-spoiler review this first. Then we'll do kind of just going through and giving our entire review. So, non-spoiler. Right off the bat, I gave it a 5 out of 5. I can safely assume that you did the same.
I did. I gave it a 5. Where does it rank amongst the Stormlight books for you?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Okay.
And it's still really hard for me. I'm sorry, my freaking pod is freaking out right now. Oh my gosh, dude. It's like playing music in my ear and all kinds of stuff. Dude, the left one is just done.
You didn't like the headphones? You didn't like the Xbox headset?
No, it just kind of was, I don't know, it just got annoying. It hurt my head after a while. But, okay, either way, I would say where it's at for me overall right now, dude, it's so difficult, man. I feel like...
You mean to tell you mine?
Yeah, you go first if you know yours.
Mine's Oathbringer, Words of Radiance, Rhythm of War, Way of Kings.
Fair.
I
think overall, it's hard overall to say it's better than Words of Radiance, and I think Oathbringer is better than Words of Radiance. So I think I would end up where you're at, but at the same time, I would also say it's so close, so it feels wrong to say it's 3 out of 4 because the Way of Kings is still amazing too, but it's definitely once you're at this point, it's
just different. Like, yeah, I mean,
it's way different. There's so much more going on, and there's like
the stakes are so much higher.
Yeah, so much stuff, but yeah, so it's still amazing. Like I said, a 5 out of 5. When I was reading it, and even in like the day, right at the day and the day after that, after I'd finished it, I was like, is this my favorite one? Like, I really had to chew on it for a minute, but
Yeah.
as I kind of just revisited like all the things that happened and tried to remember how I felt when they happened, Oathbringer and Words of Radiance still beat it out. But I mean, as far as the information you get and like the progression of the story, this is number one for me. Like, it
Dude,
progressed the story in ways that I couldn't have thought.
I was looking on Reddit, dude, and so many people hate on the Rhythm of War, and I just don't understand that. I don't understand the hate. Obviously, it's not as
Yeah,
good. I don't even know if it's obvious. I mean, I think I don't know, because there are moments that we've talked about, and we'll get into more, where it's like that's one of my all-time favorite moments in the series.
right.
It's just the whole book. Like I know it does get slower at one point, but I
Yeah,
mean, it was so, there. I don't know. I feel like Words of Radiance is the only book that doesn't get slow. Well,
yeah. I think
kind of.
Oathbringer would come in after that one. Probably, you're probably right about Words of Radiance. But the thing about Rhythm of War, and again, we're doing non-spoiler, but the thing about Rhythm of War is, dude, it starts out really quick, and for the first like, I mean, the whole first part, so like 200, 250 pages, somewhere around there, it's like pretty. I mean, you're just going. And I won't say
Yeah,
what's going on to again stay away from spoilers, but you're just thrust into what's going on and the action of it, and it doesn't. It only really slows down at one point, and it's kind of in the middle of the book. It's
yeah,
like a big U that the book does. Like, it starts out on a high, and then as it goes, slowly starts to dip down. But that dip is really not that long. At least it didn't feel that long to me. And again, all the information you get. There are parts we'll talk about in the spoiler part that like I could have done without or could have been shorter, but for the most part, you're getting like just golden information. Like,
yeah,
answers to questions you didn't even know you had. Just
yeah.
crazy stuff.
The ramifications of the things that occur in this book are wild.
Yeah, they're ridiculous. So, yeah. So just for a non-spoiler review, I would say the action in comparison to the previous Stormlight books is less, but there is still really great action sequences. But this one's not. Um,
It's more like something quickly happens, and then it's like a long, drawn out, like kind of ramifications of it. Whereas there's just longer
right.
battle scenes in the other books. There's the battle scenes
Yeah.
that are in this book are like really quick.
Yeah. And there's just there's always a good bit, and it's always good as far as dialogue in the Stormlight books, but there's definitely a lot of dialogue in this one. I would say the flashbacks are my least favorite in all the books
I
so
think that's
far.
why people don't like it.
Mm.
I
I
think
mean,
that's why it's
I
the
can
least
understand
popular.
that. Yeah, I can definitely understand that aspect being your least favorite in these books, but
It's
it's
definitely
like
my
the
when I
least
think about
amount
it
of
too. It's
flashbacks.
definitely
You
the
don't even
least.
get one until like halfway
Oh
through the
yeah,
book.
I remember thinking, dude, I don't think there is a flashback in this book because I didn't know who it was at first. Because I can't remember.
Yeah,
Someone said that they thought it was someone and it wasn't. Like I remember, I don't know if it was Jake or somebody. Anyway,
I
I
thought it
thought it
was
was going
me.
to
It
be
might have been
somebody else.
me. I thought I heard somewhere that it was. Well, never mind. I'm not going to say and spoil stuff, but either
What? Who it
way,
is? You think that's a spoiler saying who the flashback is? I guess it
well,
kind of
saying
is.
who
But,
it's not and like what my explanation was going to be. It just depends on where
oh, I
people are. They
see.
might not have read any of these. I don't know, but
Oh, I know what you're
um,
going to say.
yeah.
I mean, it kind of
So
is that character, not to be
yeah,
spoiler.
yeah.
But anyway,
But yeah. So flashbacks weren't great. And in general, the flashback character were probably most of the low points in the book for me. Was that specific character's just actual POV chapters? Like, there were definitely some that were really cool, but kind of makes sense. Not a surprise that that character is like
I think it should
not
have
one of
been
your
Navani,
favorites.
bro.
Yeah, it would have made a lot of sense for it to be Navani, but at the same time, and again, we'll have to kind of be careful until we get into spoilers.
Oh
Like, I
yeah,
get
sorry.
why it wouldn't
I
be,
forget we're
just
not spoiler. Yeah,
because.
yeah.
No, I mean, that's not a huge deal, but either way, it's still a really good book. Like I said, at several points, I was thinking in my mind like this has potential to be my favorite of the whole series, and it's not like I was disappointed in the fact that it's not, and it ended up not being my favorite book in the series, but just feeling that way and it competing with it speaks to it being a very good
Yeah,
book.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, obviously, if you've read the first three Stormlight, you should read this one. If you haven't read any of them and you're watching this or listening to this, you should read all of them.
You should start
The
with the
novellas, huh?
start with Rhythm of War. Can you imagine
Dude,
starting the
no.
series, reading none of it? I feel like it'd still be a good book for you.
Yeah, I'm sure it still could be
Yeah, maybe.
entertaining,
I
but
don't
there'd
know.
be a lot of stuff that you just didn't
Can
understand.
you imagine?
I mean, yeah, no. So definitely would highly recommend it. A little less action, but it's still very good. The character development, like stuff that Sanderson seems to like and does well, as far as like just like mental battles that the characters go through, their interior like battles
Loves a
can
good
be
mental
frustrating
battle.
at times, but they were still really good. They were honestly really good in this book to me. I've seen some complaints about particular characters, one in particular, but I thought it was good. So, uh, and yeah, if you're reading Stormlight, I mean, this has to be like the biggest, like the most impactful thing that's happened, not in just the Stormlight archive, but in the entire Cosmere in these books. Like, there's just,
Yeah,
it's
makes you
crazy
wonder.
what happens in the end.
Makes you wonder.
It does. So, is there anything else we should say as far as non spoiler?
Mm, no, no. I think
The
you covered
writing's
it.
on par with Sanderson. It's great. I couldn't put it down. I read it pretty quickly. It's a
You
1,200
destroyed
page
this.
book, and I read it in like a little over a week.
Jeb's home.
He's not though. Non spoiler, that's good. Yeah, I guess you can just cut to where we just ended on non spoiler before the dogs just wrecked the audio. But okay, let's just jump into the spoiler discussion and review and all that stuff. If you haven't read it, check out. Okay, so I guess I'm just gonna start and kind of put like where everybody's at so we can lay the
Yeah,
groundwork.
because I don't even really remember yet. Walk me through it.
Yeah, so what you have from the outset is Cal, Navani, Teft, and Relaine are in Arethiru. And then obviously you're going to have Vinley and Rabanel join shortly thereafter. You got Jasna, Renarin, Zeth. I'm sorry, Dalinar, Jasna, Renarin, Zeth, Taravangian, all in Tukar, I think it was called, if I remember correctly, in the war, fighting the Singers and then Ishar's army, the Herald that's acting like
So it starts off with him already there.
no. I'm just kind of giving you no. So we'll go
Oh,
as far
what's
as where it
going on?
starts
Like,
off. Yeah,
what's the
just kind of the
main?
main where
I
the main
see.
folks are at in the story. So then you have Shallan and Adeline in Shadesmar, doing their thing. So the book starts out with using the flying ship to go to
Oh yeah.
Hearthstone to
I remember
get
that.
all the people out. And dude, that's like the first 200 pages.
Oh, I didn't
It's
realize it was
like
that
this
much.
huge, like all the
Ordeal
fighting and like getting all the people, and then Kaladin first faces off with the pursuer, which is just
is wild.
he was a wild guy
Well, I mean,
while
you
he
kind
lasted.
of when you really start. I mean, you really get the picture that these people are kind of built different.
I mean, yeah, the fused are different. So, yeah, so Cal and a lot of the wind runners are basically evacuating people to take them to Arethiru on a big flying ship that Navani has constructed with through the art
Yeah,
of Fabrials.
yeah.
I mean,
But she's not. But by the way, she's not. Which that was a funny kind of resolution with that whole thing.
about
Her
like
always
whether or
being
not
like,
she's a scholar.
"Yeah, I'm not a scholar,
Yeah, it's like
but
okay,
you are."
I don't
Okay,
understand. Um,
exactly.
so yeah, that whole thing goes down. Kaladin freezes up again, I think, or maybe just no, he just kind of has a hard time. He does see
Sure, he does.
Moash, and Renarin comes to save the day during this battle. So that's kind of just the opening thing. And then when they get back to Arethiru, that's kind of when they decide what everybody needs to go do. So Dalinar and Jasna need to go to the front over in Takar or whatever it is to fight against the Singers and Ishar, the Herald, who is saying he's like God now or whatever.
Yeah.
Dalinar takes Cal out of active duty, tells him he basically needs to chill out, and that takes Kaladin on his whole arc of joining his dad in the surgeon's room and
Such a
all that
bad arc, dude.
nonsense
I
during the
hate that arc
occupation of
so
Arethiru.
much.
It's super tough. And then they
It's
decide that
honestly my
Adeline,
least favorite arc of the entire series. Liren
yeah, I
is
mean, it was rough.
honestly, I think, the worst character in the series.
Yeah,
Like,
he's
I'm
horrible.
not saying like, oh man, I don't like this character like Moash. But Moash is a good character. Like, it's well written.
Yeah,
I just don't like. I think Liren could not be in the story, and it would change nothing for me. Like, I wouldn't be like, oh, I don't
yeah.
understand
He could just be
Kaladin as
dead.
much. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It's just, or he could have
he just
started with his
sucks.
whole vibe of it's the classic. You can't like just surrender because no
Yeah,
violence is better than anything. And even if there's bad guys, it's like it just doesn't even make sense, especially in this world where Odium is doing what he's doing. I mean, come on, bro.
yeah, it's ridiculous. Like I get it
You
to a
have to fight
point,
at
the whole
some point.
pacifism thing and like not
Yeah,
wanting to hurt people, but it's like, all right, dude, that's over with. Um, So yeah, and then they decide Adeline needs to go to Shadesmar to try to convince Honor Spren to bond with more people because they're like, we need more radiance and so on and so forth, more Windrunners specifically.
yeah.
So that kind of sends everybody on their way to kind of just go over like the big things that happen. You have Cal basically going through, I hate to say it, but a somewhat feels like we kind of been there before,
Yeah.
depression arc. Um,
Uh huh.
and it's like I've seen people going back and forth on like Reddit and such as to whether or not like it's like a lot of people are in the camp of like this is what it's really like for people, like that's not just a one and done and they're better. Totally get that, like
But
for
that's not what
sure.
I'm rooting for.
Yeah, and I mean,
Like,
I like it in that sense that it's realistic, but I also understand like, okay, like as far as reading, like I don't want to read the same arc
it's
happen again.
realistic, but shard blades are real. Like, I'm not reading
Well,
it for being, you know what I mean? Like, I know what you're saying, and you're saying something
yes.
different, but it's just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, like I can understand it for what it is, but it was pretty heavy. So he goes through a heavy depression arc once. Like he's already kind of in it in the beginning, and that's why Dalinar like kind of not demotes him, but takes him out of active duty, and then he pursues the mental health stuff in Arethiru with people that have like battle shock and so on and so forth. So he seems like he's on this good
that I
arc.
didn't mind that. I didn't
No,
mind
I thought
that
that was
arc,
cool.
that part of the arc, which I guess, so then I guess it is necessary. I don't
Yeah,
know. It's just there's parts of it that are well done. I mean, I guess that's what you were saying too. It's just
yeah. No, that's my thing is I certainly think it's well done, but I can also empathize with someone who doesn't want to go through a similar arc. But at the same time, I mean, if it does seem realistic. I mean, sure, it's easy for me to imagine that most of my depression's going away if I can fly and I have a fairy companion that goes everywhere with me to give me
and
a
everyone needs
magical
me.
weapon. So I get both sides of it, but he goes through that whole arc, and then essentially gets his fourth ideal by the end. He does lots of brave Kaladin shit, goes hard in the end, is ready to just put his life on the line yet again. Um, doesn't lose it, but he gets the fourth ideal, so he gets his shard plate uh, through his
Which
bond with
seems
Sylph.
so overpowered.
Yeah, dude.
We haven't
It's
really. I mean, I know there's the jazz in the chapter, but I'm ready to really see some shard plate in action.
Yeah, well, that's what's cool, and I kind of like it. I could see I haven't seen anyone necessarily say they don't like it, but I could see how people wouldn't. I liked how the first time you see shard play, it's not really talked about. It's not made a big deal of. It's just Jasna going out into battle, and you very quickly get the idea that she's not using a normal shard plate. Like she has
Nah.
ideal shard plate. You get that pretty quickly, and you're like, oh, so Jasna's just out here consistently being better than every other Radiant. Cool.
Yeah. At all times.
um, at all times. So that's kind of Kaladin's arc, and there's a lot in there that we can discuss. Adeline goes to Shadesmar. He does end up essentially. I guess it doesn't say for sure he's convinced Honor Spren, but he's definitely made a big change in that Maya ends up speaking for him in lasting integrity during his trial with the Honor Spren, and she clarifies for everyone a brand new truth in the world of Stormlight for where you're at in this point in the book that the Spren at the time of the Recreants actually chose to also break their bonds. So it was like the Radiants and the Spren on the same page. She says that she knew there'd be a lot of pain. They didn't necessarily know that they would become dead eyes. Um, but yeah, that's revealed during that trial. Um,
Which
and
that
kind of
is like my favorite chapter of the whole book and potentially the whole series.
Yeah, chapter 94, Sacrifice. And we'll talk more about that in detail. So, alongside Adeline's arc, there you have Shallan who went with him, and she's going with him for support, but also she's on a secret mission for Mraize for the Ghost Bloods to go find this guy that he calls Restairs. And once she realizes who it is, it's Kellic, the Herald of the Almighty Kellic. who is going by the name Restairs. And she finds out that Mraize wants her to capture him in the little knife, which is where you find out that that knife is meant to actually capture their soul. But you learn throughout the book that it actually just ends up killing them. My dogs are barking really loud again. Where am I at? So she ends up deciding not to kill Kellic. She breaks with Mraize by the end of this. She ends up like taking on the personality of Vale fully.
So she's not with them anymore, like doing their bidding.
Yeah, she breaks with them when she tells Mraize like she's not going to kill him, and she lets the Sion out of the cube. Which, by the way, just to cut all the way to that at the end, that's a Mistborn, or not Mistborn. That's an Elantris thing. That thing that was in that cube, that like Spren like thing. That's from the world that
I like
Elantris is
barely
on,
remember
apparently.
that, honestly. I didn't really. I
Yeah.
remember that cube thing, but so what? It was something like a Spren.
Yeah, but it's something from the world of Elantris, so the magic works a little differently, and that thing is not a Spren, it's something else.
Okay.
So that's kind of Shallan's thing. And she remembers or reveals to the reader that in her past she actually had bonded a
Oh, by
different
the way.
cryptic, and broke that oath and made that one a Deadeye.
Yeah, Shallan's just a problem.
Just causes problems left and right. So that's Shallan's pretty much the gist of her arc. Dalinar is out there in the freaking war zone, and he's essentially the whole time just trying to figure out how to like increase his powers, like understand his power more.
I feel like he's not in this book a lot, right?
No, he's not in it barely at
I
all.
feel like each time is definitely down.
Yeah, whenever you have a Dalinar chapter, you're like, oh my gosh, there's our man. So he's essentially just kind of going through it with the Stormfather, trying to figure out his powers. At one point, he does push the Stormfather a little bit.
That was wild.
And then at one point, he actually says the words. I don't know if it was him and the Stormfather doing it in unison. I suppose so. Or I don't know if Dalinar can just do what he wants with it. But he accepts Cal's fourth ideal as the Storm at one point. And then his big culmination of his arc is they get to Ishar, the Herald. He does some crazy bondsmith stuff, but he's not bound to like a Spren or an oath or anything. And then they find these physical Spren like in Ishar's tent, and the Stormfather gets super freaked out about it, insinuating that Ishar's found a way to like bring Spren into the physical realm.
Yeah, that was wild.
Which who knows what that means. So that leads to their arc in the next book, which we'll talk about in the end. And then Navani's whole arc is she's experimenting and learning more about light, specifically tower light. She ends up having this working relationship with Ravenel, the Lady of Wishes, the Fused.
That's honestly maybe my favorite storyline of that whole book.
It's so good. I loved it, man. And we'll get into it. So, and then
Can you hear me fine, by the way?
Not as good as I could a moment ago.
Yeah, I was trying. I'll hold it up. I was trying out this this stand. All right, keep going. Sorry.
Well, then the final like major arc that you don't think. I mean, you have no idea this is going to end up being the most important arc in the whole freaking book. But Taravangian attacks Odium with Nightblood and becomes Odium.
So, dude, lay it out for me again, because how does he even get Nightblood? I know Szeth comes in there.
So to just jump to that, because that is the biggest thing in my opinion that happens. I freaking screamed, like yelled so loud when it happened. But essentially, the whole book, Taravangian's sitting there thinking, and at one point he talks to Szeth. He's trying to get a way to tell Szeth that Odium's afraid of Nightblood. And he doesn't understand completely why. Well, he does kind of, but he's like stupid at the time. You know, he's in his stupid mode, and Szeth's like yelling back at him and like walking away, not listening. Like he thinks that everything Taravangian says is poison, and he's trying to mess with him. So he doesn't. That doesn't catch on at all. He ends up, as Szeth is walking away, essentially just saying, "Well, just give it to Dalinar. Like give Nightblood to Dalinar."
Oh, that's what he says. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah.
So the whole story is basically Taravangian you only get in a few interludes until the end, and you know. He essentially, by the end of that arc, towards the end of the book, is before Szeth shows up, he's like, I have to somehow like talk to Dalinar, explain this to him, explain to him that there's something with Szeth and there's something with Renarin, which we already understand what Renarin's is. It's that because he's like Odium in the sense that he can see the future, anything near him is like blotted out from what Odium can see.
Yeah.
but we don't really fully understand what the deal with Nightblood is. We just know that Taravangian gets the impression that Odium's scared of it. So then Zeth shows up because it bothers him a lot. When they go see it, when they Dalinar and Zeth go to see Ishar, Ishar has the honor blade that Zeth's father was supposedly previously in possession of in Shinovar. So he freaks out. And then after that whole scene, he goes to Taravangian and says, "Why did you told me my father's dead? Like, how did you know what happened? This, that, and the other." And then Zeth just kind of loses his cool and is freaking out on Taravangian. As he's yelling at Taravangian, Odium shows up. Now, this part I didn't fully understand, but what happens prior to Zeth showing up is Renarin comes by, gives Taravangian these two void light gemstones, red gemstones, and he says, "I'm sorry," and then just leaves. So it would seem that he knew what was about to happen with Taravangian becoming Odium, I would assume. There may have been something different, but when he does that, Zeth comes in, breaks those gemstones, and I guess that's what summoned Odium. I'm not really sure. But as Zeth is like screaming at Taravangian and like wanting to kill him, like pulling out his knife to stab him, Odium shows up and is basically pissed off because he's just made the deal with Dalinar. He knows that it's not like super great for him. And so he's mad. He's like mad about Wit because he realizes that Wit wrote the contract. So he's basically just like, "What do you want? Like, I'm not in the mood," like so on and so forth. And Taravangian sees that as he's getting pulled into the realm that Odium's talking to him in, he sees that Nightblood is like there with him. Like he can see Zeth in the other realm, but Zeth's not in that realm. He can tell, but he can tell Nightblood is. So just in a moment's like decision, he just grabs Nightblood and just stabs Odium like in the chest with it. And the
So,
way
but
it
he's like in
explains it,
another realm when he does that. So he's not
yeah,
physically taking it from Zeth.
no, because so no, he stabs Odium and then realizes that it basically makes a hole in Odium that needs to be filled. It's essentially looking for a new vessel, and Odium like goes at it. And in that moment, it explains that uh, Ray's, the guy who was the vessel for Odium, basically takes the spot of Taravangian in the physical realm, and it ends up being Zeth. That it ends up being him that Zeth is stabbing with Nightblood. And like that's why he can't tell that it's not Taravangian anymore. That's what it explains, because he's like scorched away and like whatever from Nightblood. And in that
Wait. So
moment,
explain it.
Taravangian becomes Odium.
Rays?
Race is, dude. So there's so much that I've learned now that I've finished this last book that I've gone on to on Reddit and all this other kind of stuff. So Odium's a shard of Adonasium, who was like the original god that created everything. So like Odium, honor, cultivation, they're all shards of that god. So 16 people came together and decided they should kill Adonasium, however you say his name. And then those 16 people all took one of the shards and basically took that power. Race is the name of the person who took Odium. So he's the original Odium that took it from the god that they originally splintered and killed or whatever.
Okay.
And then Taravangian killed him. And then right after he does that, you know, he's experiencing being Odium for the first time and like experiences the raw fury and passion that comes with the shard of Odium. And then he notices cultivation, and she comes up to him and explains to him that the reason she gave Taravangian the boon and curse that he did was because she saw the possibility in his future of becoming Odium. So she was hoping that her giving him that boon and curse would cultivate, if you will, him to end up taking the place of Race as Odium.
So does Zeth see any of this happen? I guess is
No,
what I'm
Zeth
saying.
sees nothing, thinks he killed Taravangian. He actually killed Race.
Wait, so Zeth stabs.
And the moment he stabs Taravangian, Race becomes Taravangian, takes his place. So which insinuates to me that Race would have just lived as a man if Taravangian had only just stabbed him with Nightblood in that spiritual realm or whatever, and Zeth hadn't simultaneously been stabbing at Taravangian with Nightblood. But
So
yeah,
it
that's
just
what
looks like
happened.
Taravangian's dead.
Yes, because
Okay.
he takes the exact place of the body, but his body is so marred by Nightblood. Apparently, that's the way it explains it. That like Taravangian's watching it happen. He can like he's basically saying in his head he's not going to recognize that it's not me. And then he just straight up becomes the evil god of this story, Taravangian. And then when
I mean, this is the
Cultivation talks
last
to him,
guy.
she's like, "Let me show you, like, let me teach you, like, what you are, and this, that, and the other. And the last
So is
thing he
he
says in the
still gonna
book
have
is,
smart days and dumb days?
so I asked Reddit that question, and most of the people on there said no, that because the way he's, and this is all conjecture, they don't know for sure because there's no specific words from Brandon on it apparently, but most of them think no because he like immediately had the competency of a shard, or like a person that could, a vessel that could handle it in that
Yeah.
moment. And then what he does later with wit indicates that he knows what he's doing. He's figuring himself out
Oh,
really quick.
wait.
Um, so yeah, dude, Teravangian becomes Odium, which was really cool because you do start to get the idea towards the end of the book. You're like, man, Odium's kind of slipping here. Like he's not getting what he wants. And then in that moment
Yeah.
with Teravangian, you're like, bro, he's like kind of losing his cool right now. And you can see, like they explain that you can like see the power inside the vessel like welling up, and that's one of the things in the epigraphs of this book as well. They explain that there's like a vessel and then the actual shard, and how sometimes they have competing like uh, tendencies or whatever.
Yeah.
And so cultivation thinks that Teravangian's like actually a perfect vessel for Odium, and so we're gonna find out what that means.
So that means that honor. Where is honor shard?
Well, I think honors. I think I would assume that the shard was destroyed because he actually killed Honor the shard. So like Teravangian didn't destroy Odium; he killed Race the vessel. So my
So
understanding
how do
of
you kill the
Honor is that
shard?
we don't know that yet. We don't know how Odium killed Honor. We just know that Odium killed Honor and Honor deeply wounded Odium. We don't really know what that means yet, though. And
Do you
there's
think
stuff
that
that you
shard's
and I
still out
don't
there?
know, huh?
Do you think that shard's still out there though? The honor shard?
Well, we know it's splintered because that's how you have like the Stormfather and like Honor Spren and that kind of thing, like Syl. That's how you have hers because Honor's still out there. And that's kind of like there's a lot of this stuff on Reddit about how like the power of Honor is still there. It's just Honor himself is actually dead. And again, I don't
So
know if that means that shard is actually done for or if just whoever had that shard is dead and no one else picked it up. I don't know. Um,
hmm.
but there are other shards like preservation and ruin, that are on other planets in this world, like the Mistborn world and the Elantris world. And there's another few that are dead that Odium has killed. And I've learned all this stuff just from these are like different things picked up throughout all the Cosmere books. So some of this stuff like we wouldn't know just from reading Stormlight, but I figured, I'm just gonna learn as much
You
Cosmere
just
stuff
ruin it
related to what I do know
immediately.
so I can understand. And I'm not gonna worry about the books. 'Cause I'm gonna read those and enjoy them, but
Yeah.
those aren't going to ruin the entire story. They're just going to be the big overreaching things that are going to like, clue in. But either way, Teravangian is Odium. And then in the very end of the book, just to kind of cap off his story in Rhythm of War, Wit and him have a conversation. It seems at the end of the conversation, Wit realizes that there's a way because of something Odium says, that Teravangian says. It seems that Wit is starting to realize that there's a way for Odium to either win or get out of the contract or something like that. And in that moment, Teravangian takes his memory, does something with some breaths, and then it just starts the conversation over. Teravangian does it differently so that Wit doesn't realize that. And so nobody actually knows yet in the story, other than cultivation, nobody knows that Teravangian is Odium. And that's where we are.
Mm.
And so
Mm-mm-mm.
I've seen some crazy like theories about what's going to happen. The leading one, and this is just jumping straight from the end of the book to like the future. We'll get back to the other stuff, but the leading theory is that because there's no clause for if one of the like champions doesn't want to fight or doesn't want to kill the other, that there's no clause for like a draw or something like that, and that's how Odium's going to get out of it. So the biggest theory is that Odium's somehow either going to get Adeline Renarin or possibly Gavinor, Elikar's son, to be his champion. I think Gavinor one is like most people are kidding when they say that because if that happens in book 5, he's still going to be just a little kid.
He's still
I
gonna
think he's
be
like 3 or
3.
something.
Yeah.
Um, so that one would be kind of cheap. I feel like for him to pick a 3-year-old as his champion, knowing Dalinar's not going to do
But do they
anything.
have to also accept that they're gonna be
They
his
have to
champion?
accept. to my knowledge. So I don't know
There's
how you.
no chance Adeline does that. I
I
feel like
would think not.
Rhiannon's going to do some I don't know. He's the only one.
Maybe
Dude, what if
Renarin
Jazz knows?
knows. There's no way. What if Renarin
Dude.
knows though, because he came and gave those gemstones to Odium? What if Renarin knows that Odium might pick him, Renarin? And what if Renarin's planning to agree to be his champion, knowing that Dalinar won't kill him? But then the problem with that is I don't see how Dalinar gets out of that kind of situation, because he would likely be the one that's unwilling to kill the other. I don't see how he gets out of that situation and doesn't end up becoming a fused, because that's the agreement he made, is that if he loses, he will become a fused for Odium. And can you imagine, dude, if that's how the book ends? In the second half of the Stormlight Archive, we have Dalinar as a fused working for Odium. Can you imagine, bro?
I mean, he would make a great villain. You know?
Oh yeah, especially after knowing his story, bro. I mean,
He makes such a good
crazy.
villain.
It'd be so crazy. So yeah, that's the biggest, most impactful thing. So we kind of did that. Taravangian is Odium, so I feel like that could change everything. Obviously, I mean, I'm sure it will.
Oh, that's got to change literally everything.
Yeah, because like, so here's my thought: is that Taravangian, regardless of his boon and curse, Taravangian he ends with basically saying, I'm going to save them all. So you're going to get the classic, like almost Thanos-esque storyline of your antagonist being someone who has like these seemingly like good utopian intentions, but he's going to go about it in like either a genocidal Hitler kind of way or something along those lines, where there's still going to be so much evil involved.
Yeah.
But then overall, what Taravangian sees, like his overall thing, because when he says I'm going to save them all, he's not talking about Roshar. This is after he looks out into the universe and sees all these other gods. He's seeing all these other shards on other planets and like sees them as doing a terrible job. So his goals are not just, I mean, he becomes Odium and immediately wants the main thing that Odium also wanted, that
he
Race
wants to
also
collect
wanted.
them all.
Well, which was to get off Roshar, to not be bound to that system and have to either go to Damnation or Roshar. But you get a bunch of that stuff too, dude. You find out that like Damnation is just another planet, dude. You find out that the trampoline halls, whatever the frick they're called,
Tranquil Halls,
the Tranquiline Halls, that's actually Ashen, dude, the planet that humans originally came from, and the whole idea. And you don't know if this is real or not, like if there are actually people doing this, but the whole idea is that when you die on Roshar, supposedly the place that you call the Tranquiline Halls or whatever is just going back to the original human planet and trying to fight for it, which we don't know if that's real or not, if that battle's actually going on or if that's just something the religion made up. But that's like how these different like big characters like either Sprint or whatever throughout the book make comments, and you're like, oh, these are just other planets. Damnation is just another planet, but it's like a wasteland. It's crazy, dude. This Cosmere stuff is wild. So
Cosmere.
Before we keep going into the future, let's just talk about a couple characters. So let's just start with our main man, Cal. We've kind of said what happens with him. Big thing that you've already kind of hit on is his whole relationship with Liren. I think Liren finally realizes in the end, with the help of Hesina, Kaladin's mom, that like, you know, not everybody's a surgeon. Like there have to be soldiers too, or we all die.
Exactly.
So there's that whole thing. Obviously, the big dagger that we haven't discussed yet is Teft getting killed by Moash, which is just devastating, man. I saw it coming from a mile away, because you start getting these Teft POV chapters, and I'm just like, things are going way too good for Teft. Things are going way too good for him, and he's getting way too much screen time. Something bad's happening to Teft. I thought it was either going to be him or Relaine. I was picturing a scenario where
I could see that too.
The one like singer that the good guys have end up getting killed, and ends up being this whole kind of complexity in Kaladin. But no, it was Teft, dude. The guy that was 7 months sober off the moss and was feeling encouraged and good about life. Dude, but you know what, man? He died with hope.
The fact that he kills her Spren first, or his Spren first, is, I mean, so messed up.
Just tragic, dude. It gives you the same feeling of like someone killing somebody's puppy. Like you just walking up to somebody's puppy and gutting them with a knife. You're just like, why would you even do that? Obviously, it's totally different because Spren like give people power, but it's just like, bro,
I
why
mean,
would you
it's
just kill
completely
me?
different, but
Just kill
yeah,
me, dude.
it's
But obviously,
1000% different.
I mean,
Not even
yeah, but
close
you
to
get
the
what I'm
same.
saying. Like,
Not
as
even
in
close.
the sense of how could you do that? It
Yeah.
just seems so like wrong. But yeah, so obligatory smash, but
God, he's so. I mean, I hope. I mean, I think he's gonna last a long time.
dude, I think
You think he's gonna die this next book?
no, dude. I think
There's
Moash is
no
going to end up
way.
having a redemption arc. I guarantee you, bro, by book 10, if he might be dead by this point, but either way, whether it's book 10 or before, this man will end up dying on the right side of
I
history. I
honestly don't
guarantee
want
you.
that. I don't want that
I
at all
guarantee it'll
because,
happen.
bro, and I was talking to Joseph about this too. He's almost done. He has like 50 pages left. I mean, grandparents. That's what we're doing this over is grandparents. Let's just remember why we're doing
Dude.
this. Let's look at everybody else and what they've all lost in the storyline
Oh no, I
archive in
know. I
Roshar.
know.
Think of how much everyone's lost, and he's worrying about his grandparents, especially when you
Well,
find out the backstory of how it happened. And yeah, it's just this one guy who screwed over a lot of people. And it
yeah.
wasn't, and like they tried to punish him too. It's just, that's just, it is what it is. It wasn't even like,
Yeah.
I mean, Dalinar killed his own wife. I mean, what are
Like
we talking
like
about
get
here?
in the back of the line
I
for
mean,
trauma,
what are
bro.
we
Get
talking
the
about?
back of the line.
So
Not to
I don't know.
downplay people's grandparents dying, but when you're sitting there
I'm
next to
downplaying it.
Kaladin Stormblessed, like and
Whose
everything
brother
he's
died
gone
on the
to,
field and he feels like he missed it. I mean, just come on, dude.
yeah. Which
Come on.
like, you know, I mean, I do feel that way too, but at the same time, it's like, okay, I can still see a world where like that makes sense. A character like Moash makes complete sense. That if you got 10 guys, the odds of all
That is
10
true.
of them being like, end up being good guys, like especially once you give him power, like
Well,
especially
it's
once
just
he
you would
gets the honor
expect
blade,
though.
dude.
Do feel though that people are like what they're around, and he was around good guys. So you're telling me
Yeah,
the mob mentality doesn't affect him enough to where it's like, yeah, I'm still pissed. But now,
yeah,
especially because if he waits long enough, Elfcar dies. So like
yeah.
that's the revenge you needed. Well, I mean, he kills him, I guess.
He kills
So
him.
actually, but
Yeah, I was thinking, I was like, I mean, he's the
I
one that kills him.
yeah, my fault. But I don't know. But why not after that be like, all right, I'm good.
Well, at that
Now
point, he's like
it's too
feeling
far.
well, he's too far, and I've seen this complaint about Moash that people think he's just like an emotionless, like invert of Kaladin. But I think, and maybe Brandon glosses over it quickly, but I'm pretty sure I'm getting the timeline right. After he kills Elokar, like he is feeling a lot of like guilt and this, that, and the other about it. But Odium ends up taking his pain because he's having so much guilt. Because at
So
some
he just
point,
has none of it.
yeah, so he just like he is kind of like a cold, just like not a lot of emotion character because his pain has been taken, and like his passion and that kind of thing. So I mean, yeah, Moesh is definitely just like a tool to a degree for things to happen, but his
I
character makes sense to me at the same time.
mean, it
So
does.
anyway, Kaladin's up getting his fourth ideal. His fights with the Pursuer were all sick. The less ability Kaladin had, like surge power, the better the fights were. The fact that he still bests him is like so amazing, but also so believable
Well,
in
and
the
the way he
world.
does it too by just completely demeaning him.
Yeah, calling him the defeated
He's
one.
so disrespectful.
Yeah, mad
And it's so
disrespectful.
cool.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a super sick moment. It's a classic Cal story. It's the story you've come to know and love of Cal having a hard time getting there, but when he gets there, he does it like nobody else. I mean, it's just a classic Cal W.
Bro, you keep saying Cal, dude. I don't like it.
I
I don't
mean,
know
they do
why.
it so many times in the book. That's how half the time how
I
I think
still
about
don't
him.
like it.
I mean, that's what they call him.
Dude, I don't
I'm
like
not
it.
saying Kaladin
I don't
Stormblessed
like it.
every time.
Bro, just say Kaladin.
Dude, I'm just gonna
That's
say what
like
I
when you were
want.
saying the Lopin. And I
Well,
was
that
like,
was
dude, this
funny
guy's
because
not saying
he
the
kept saying
Lopin.
the Lopin,
Yeah,
but
but you weren't saying it to be funny. I think the first time you were, I thought the first time you were, and then you just kept saying the Lopin. I was like, dude, there's no way he's actually doing this.
I mean,
Is
I
he
was planning on
committing to
doing it
the
the entire
Lopin?
time, and then you called me out, and I was like, I mean, whatever. We're gonna be semantical about it. But anyway,
Semantical.
that's
Dude,
Kaladin Stormblessed story.
what about how he says the fourth ideal? I feel like that was kind of a big deal
Yeah, so his
with
ends up being
Dalinar.
like that he'll accept. Yeah, he'll accept that he can't save everyone.
Dude, and what's the story that Wit tells? I don't understand any of his stories, bro.
The dog and the dragon, dude, that was one of the
Yeah.
best moments in the book.
I mean, it's cool, but I'm just like every time I'm like, where is Wit getting these from?
Well, I don't know where he's getting them from, but you get like the purpose of the story and the meaning of it, or
I
no?
don't even remember the story, honestly. I just remember being like, of course, we're going to go into a fantasy world within a fantasy world as he's falling to his potential death. And Wit's going to have time to tell him a story.
Yeah.
I mean, it
Well,
was
he's not.
cool. I liked it. I was just like, wow.
Was he? He wasn't falling at that time.
Oh, am I mixing
That
that
was
up?
what.
When
That was
was
the scene
that?
with Dalinar. This scene was just in his dream. This is when he goes out cold for a while, and Lift has to end up coming to help heal him. And once he's up,
Oh,
this is when
that's
Odium's messing with him. Moash explains to him like, if you mess with him, he essentially messes with him in visions the way that the Stormfather could show up to people.
you're right. You're right. Right. Because he like does some attack and then almost gets killed. Right?
Who?
What am I messing up? Kaladin comes in, does something, and then he like yeets
Yeah,
himself out, and
yeah.
that's when the dream thing happens
Well, and
with
then the
Wit, right?
sibling nodes keep getting. Every time a sibling node gets broke, the like power that's keeping all of them down affects Kaladin more. So by the time there's only one node left, or even none left, Kaladin's like, this is when it gets real bad, right before he gets his
Yeah.
fourth
Okay.
ideal.
Okay. Okay.
But that moment with Wit, he is essentially telling a story of a dog who meets a dragon, wants to become a dragon in every way that he tries to, flying like him, having scales like him, and this, that, and the
Yeah.
other.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
fails, but on the way, he's doing all these different little intricacies to try to make it happen. And later, the farmer, the owner's kid, falls into a well, and he basically uses a contraption that he used trying to fly to go down and pick the kid up. And then they take him into the house, feed him. He sleeps in the bed with them. And
And he's still
Wit's
complaining
whole
about how
point,
he's not a dragon.
well, Wit in the end says that, but he's saying it in like a sarcastic tone. So right before Kaladin
Yeah,
like
because
leaves,
Kaladin's
he's
like
like,
wanting to be all these things, but he's doing all these other things that he doesn't acknowledge.
yeah, yeah, pretty much. So yeah, that's the point of the whole story. I really liked it. And what was I just about to say? Dang it.
We were talking
Um,
about Dalinar now, him
oh
overtaking the
yeah,
Stormfather.
yeah. So he overtook him previously before the ideal thing. He overtakes him by like pushing Kaladin into one of the like tower levels because Kaladin's falling. So he like makes the
Mm,
Stormfather kind of go back a bit and like hurts him a little or pushes him. I don't know if it actually hurt him, but then when Kaladin's chasing after his father, but also like kind of just killing himself, um, Dalinar's in the storm with the Stormfather and is like, I'm going to unite him, and accepts Kaladin's fourth ideal. So what I want to know
mm-hmm.
is if, because it's either one of three things. Either Dalinar did that against the Stormfather's will, which it didn't seem like that was the case afterwards. They did it in unison, like they both knew that it was good to accept those words, or Dalinar now has the full autonomy to accept an ideal, like however he pleases. I'm curious as to which of those scenarios it is. It's one of the last two. I don't think he.
From a Windrunner.
Well, I'm just like just anyone. Like, can Dalinar as a bondsmith, like because bondsmiths were the ones that made the oath pact or whatever, can he just accept any ideal? Like, is that just a power he has as a bondsmith? He can say your words are accepted, and they just get a freaking blade or some plate.
I don't know. I don't know if that's. I feel like it only worked because Kaladin
A
is what
windrunner.
he is. That's what I took from it. But I mean, who knows? I mean, I'm not claiming to be grasping
Yeah,
that level of. But I mean, that would be
true.
interesting. But I mean, how would that work with the people who like? I mean, I guess it's only Jasna who has it, but
Yeah.
like he couldn't have been involved in that. I mean, maybe he was, but because
Yeah.
he doesn't even have a fourth ideal. So how would he be
Who?
able to
Dalinar?
Dalinar?
Yeah. I
Right?
don't know. I don't know.
Who knows, bro? And then now we got Navani also being a bondsmith.
Yeah. Which theirs are totally different. The bondsmith's different. Like they don't have a blade. Like that's not part of a bondsmith. Like
Really?
he just doesn't have one. Yeah, he like thought about it at one point or something, and the Stormfather tells him like your bond doesn't work like that. Like that's not yours is different. He said the bondsmith is different from any order, but he said but you are also different from like what a bondsmith is. He's like you're something new. So like maybe he can at some point, but the gist I've gotten so far is he doesn't have ideals where he gets a blade and then plate. Like he's just on a different level.
Yeah.
Like, bro, you can just open perpendicularities and stuff. We're not
And
giving
just
you all this other shit.
recharge.
Like,
Yeah, that is so overpowered.
So yeah, that's pretty much really all that's left from and to go into Dalinar's story. All that's really left from his story is the thing with the physical spren that he found in Ishar's tent, which I mean I've got no idea what the
Who
implications of
knows
that
what
are.
that is? Yeah, that's
Who
wild.
knows? It obviously hadn't worked out for the Sprens so far because they're all dead. And then the really big thing for Dalinar is he wants Ishar to teach him like how to use his powers, because in a moment when Ishar is opening up the perpendicularity, like in a split moment, Ishar communicates with Dalinar, but you can tell it's like the sane part of him. He's like, I'm not sure if I can come back from this, but like meet me in Shinovar or whatever and like help me and like I can show you what I've learned, this, that, and the other. But he literally says, I might be too far gone, which is kind of crazy. You're like, bro, if you can say that, you're not too far gone. Like, just get a grip. Like,
Just
come on.
leave me.
So, and that's what the whole arc is going to be, I assume, in book 5 for Kaladin and Zeth, because the book ends with Dalinar sending them to Shinovar, because Zeth has something he needs to take care of there anyway, and Kaladin, he wants Kaladin to go and use his like mental health battle shock awareness skills to try to help Ishar. And Kaladin's like, bro, I've been doing this for problems. Well, he wants him to help Ishar.
Well, yeah,
the Herald. But yeah, I mean, Zeth needs it just as badly. I mean, dear God. So yeah, that's pretty much the Kaladin and Dalinar. I about to say Daladin.
Daladin.
Jasmine, there's not a whole lot.
Her and Wade are clearly a thing.
Yeah, they're like in a relationship. There's like a whole few paragraphs where they talk about it.
Talk about.
I mean, she's just out here being OP. I mean, unstoppable, dude. I mean, what are you gonna do to Jasmine and Wit?
Yeah, especially because you can't even make fun of Wit, dude. That whole scenario that she did, you might have to give me the details on it. But I remember being like, "Oh, okay," and it was
with
where,
Ruthar.
Yeah.
Where she basically goads him into calling for a duel, a Homganga. From
mother trucker.
I just did a little what do you call that? Intersectionality. What is it?
Yeah, dude, that's the exact word I was thinking of. Intersectionality.
That was from a different book series.
You just interstellared my mind.
But yeah, Jasmine's just kind of doing her thing.
Sorry, I should have asked you that. We're at a different thing. What page or what chapter?
9.
Oh, you're pretty close to what I has.
Yeah, page like 76. And I'm like 3 chapters into Napoleon. But anyway, so not a ton happens with Jasna. She's just hot and smart, I guess. So Aladdin's whole thing with Maya. So, I mean,
wow.
One of the best parts of the book, you told me this was one of your favorite chapters, and I definitely understand why. It's when they have the final day of the trial and lasting integrity. And at this point, Kellic is no longer the high judge or whatever. That other honor sprint has replaced him and is kind of just going in on Kaladin. And then he brings Maya up thinking that it'll go against Kaladin, saying like, look how much you've hurt her and this, that, and the other. And then Maya's just like, what? We chose, like finally gets it out. It's like it's like a page and a half of her not getting her words out. I'm just like, bro, I'm about to just skip to where I see quotation marks to see what she's about to say, because this is ridiculous.
For a second, did you think she was going to betray him?
No, dude, not for 1 second. The second they brought Maya out, I was like, y'all just made a huge mistake. Like,
I don't know. At first I thought the same, and then I don't know. I mean, because she was silent for a bit, right? And then eventually talks.
Yeah, but you can tell she's like struggling the whole time. Like at first she's just freaked out, and then she's trying to like get out of the control of the honor sprint that had brought her up there. And the whole time the honor sprint, that's the high judge at this point, is saying like, see how distressed she is and like how much like she hates you and how this is your fault. And Adeline's going, what do you mean, bro? You drug her out here and she's not comfortable. So Adeline's like just yet again through and through just being a good guy.
Yeah, he really is.
I mean, nonstop good guy. Yeah, so Maya reveals that, we kind of hit on this already. Maya reveals that the Recreants was a decision between the Spren, the Radiants, and their Spren. So it kind of changes everything we know about the past. Like it wasn't just the Radiants breaking their oaths and like either knowingly or unknowingly killing their Spren. They all decided together.
Yep.
which kind of just leads you to the point where you're like, okay, like we keep hearing about this, and now we know that they decided together, like, but they're doing this again, like they're surge binding again. So like we're gonna get to a head with this where they're gonna destroy their world, or something else is gonna have to happen. But yeah, that was a whole big deal. Adeline, dude, Adeline's my favorite character in the Stormlight Archive. I
Yeah.
can very comfortably say that.
I can see why he would be your favorite character.
I
He's
mean,
such a solid character.
he's so solid. At this point in the books, where are you at on the Stormlight characters? Like, who's your number one? Is it Zeth?
It's still the same as like, because I mean, you've always asked me this, and I think mine's still like Jasna Zeth, and then I don't know. Zahel is still one of my like most interesting characters, but yeah, then it's probably Dalinar, Kaladin, Adeline. Maybe Adeline then Kaladin. I mean, I know who's last, that's for sure.
Lift or Shallan?
Hmm.
I'm not gonna lie,
Which
dude. By
one's
the
up?
end of this arc, as frustrating as it was, and we can just go ahead and jump to Shallan. As frustrating as it was, her arc, I was happy with her arc by the end. Like,
Yeah, bro, I was happy with her arc the last couple books, man, and it just I
but again,
guarantee
it's the
you, dude,
same thing with
we're going
Kaladin.
back.
It's like, I
Yeah, but
mean,
it's like with Kaladin, but like let's do it again. It's like if the next book Kaladin also did the same thing. That's what I feel like it is with Shallan. Because
yeah,
Kaladin, it's kind of happened twice, but even in the first book, dude, I didn't really get depression vibes. I know I should have, but because it's such a short time, like it's he figures it out. He's on the edge of the chasm, and he's like, "No, I'm not going to kill myself. He's just going to lead Bridge 4." And
yeah,
like he just quickly decides that, and then moves on. Whereas Shalans are always so like just long and
yeah.
dragged out. So I mean, I agree. I like the what's going on, but I trust that this is the last time? No chance, bro. I don't trust it at all,
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's still going to be some, like,
dude. And
lingerings
then
of that,
whenever
but
you
I
think
do
you know it
think,
all with her backstory, something else comes up.
yeah, I'm sure she
So
also killed herself at some point and came back to life and then forgot about it. Who knows?
um,
But I did think it was crazy. I mean, the whole thing with her having killed a cryptic before, broken a bond,
that's
broken an
crazy.
oath with a cryptic is insane.
I was honestly hoping that Pattern was was bad. That would have made it way more
I did
interesting to
too.
me. And like I was game for that. And now that the Nightbloods aren't in, I'm kind of out almost. Maybe I'm not,
I mean,
but
the Ghost Bloods,
or Ghostbloods. What did I say? Nightblood.
Night Bloods,
Um,
the Night Bloods are in.
the Nightbloods are in, brother. I'm
I
hoping
mean, the Ghost
the
Bloods are still
Ghostbloods
in, bro. I feel
stay
like
in.
they're going to be even a bigger deal in the next book.
But she's out, right? You said she releases a little thing.
Yeah, she releases the thing and says she's not going to do what Mraize says, but I feel like that's only it's gonna sever the connection that Shallan's story has to it to a degree. But I feel like we're gonna get way more of that in the next book. Like it's gonna come to a major head because I think the Ghost Bloods are like supremely important throughout the whole
Yeah,
Cosmere
I
from what
think
I've
so
read.
too.
Because
Dude, is that
Thydekar, the guy at the end,
here? What was I saying? Dang it! I should have told you. Don't have blue cheese in the refrigerator, do you? That's okay. Did we get fries? Do you think I can put all of it in the air fryer? All right. Sorry, we ordered Buffalo Wild Wings.
did
So,
you know?
well, I mean, they didn't. I was like, well, I might as well get in on that. Sorry, where were
Why
we at
wouldn't I?
though? We're
Dude,
Ghost
I don't know.
Bloods
Podcast over.
supremely Ghost Bloods cosmic implications, Cosmere
Yeah,
implications.
because so I learned, and this is a spoiler for Mistborn. I don't know if you're gonna. Well, it's actually not because I don't know who it is, but apparently Thydekar is a character from Mistborn, not under that name.
Who's
But if you've
that?
read Mistborn, Thydekar is the guy that's like in charge of the Ghost Bloods that Murray said he like reports to, and
Mm.
he's in the very end of the book. He uses one of those daggers and kills the pursuer with it. Remember?
That's what Kaladin uses.
No, Kaladin doesn't kill the pursuer. Thydekar does in the end. The pursuer gets away. He runs away from Kaladin. That's how their story ends. Is him running away. And then he's talking to Thydekar in the end, and Thydekar's like, "You're going to be a great test subject to see if this thing actually kills us."
Where was
And then
that
he
at?
stabs him in the head. I forget the location. I mean, I think it was. Oh, it was Kolinar. They went back to Kolinar because that's where the fused and everybody retreated to after they left Erethiru.
Dude, so many things happen in this book, bro. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Um. So yeah, I like Shalon's story. I thought it ended well. It was definitely frustrating at times, but I will be honest, to jump to something else, I was not as frustrated. I got to the point where I was excited about Shalon chapters because the ones I dreaded were Vinley's. I got so tired of Vinley's chapters, her
Really,
flashbacks and her chapters. Like there were moments where they were good and you're like, "Oh, okay, something's going on." But a lot of it was just like, I don't know, man. I just don't like Vinley.
really interesting. I
Like
kind of like Vinley.
I like Vinley,
I'm
but I don't
glad that you
like.
don't like her though, so that we have something to disagree about.
I mean, I like her kind of towards the end, but at the same time, she's just like supremely selfish, like always. Like even her finding her
Yeah,
people in the end is just so she can find her mom, so not so she can help them. Um, the only
yeah.
thing she does really that's good is when she finally ends up helping the Radiants, and then in the end, finally tells Leshwi that she's a Radiant. Leshwi's like, "What? All right, I'm flipping
Leshwi's my
sides." I
Leshwi's
love
my
Leshwi.
favorite. Like she's also one of my favorite characters.
I like Leshwi a lot. She's just so cool.
I want more of her.
She like the way
It's
she's
sad that
written is like the
Rabanel gets killed.
perfect. I know, man. I was gonna say that at some point, but Leshui and Rabanel really are really well written to where it's so believable that these characters are like
You
seven
get why
thousand
you
years
get
old.
you get what they're doing.
Yeah, and
Like you
it
get
just
the
it's
motives.
believable that they're that old and they have that
Find
much
out
like
that
knowledge.
her, I think it's daughter or whatever, is the like special needs essentially one. It's
Rabanel, yeah, she
like,
kills her in the end.
yeah,
Hmm.
oh, which was brutal.
Brutal. Um, okay, so Vinley's story, she
Huge
basically just
implications on what they find out.
who?
Oh wait, you're talking about Vinley. Sorry, I was
Yeah,
thinking
yeah,
of Bonnie. Keep going.
yeah. I mean, just to close out Vinley's portion, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
she just basically was responsible that everything's gone wrong in all these books, and she feels bad about it
It's
now.
all her fault.
And she's a stone word now.
I
So
still don't know what that means.
she can just like manipulate stone and like at one point the way she breaks lift out is by putting her hands in the stone and then just making it into like where it had an
Yeah,
opening.
yeah.
Um, So it ends with her going to find her people that Esh and I like let leave that are led by Food and some other singers that like didn't take any of the new forms and all that. So her and Leshwi go out there and I guess they're gonna chart a new path. Who knows what's gonna happen? Like Leshwi was excited by the fact that the original Spren were taking singers back when she realized that Vinley was a Radiant. So that excited her to like pursue a new path, not with Odium. So then to jump to Navani and Rabanel, which is really kind of the main story of this book.
Yeah, I
This
would
is
agree.
really Navani's book. And I would agree with you. This was really the best like full arc of which it is really the main full arc. It's really this story and then Adeline's story in Shadesmar with Shallan. Everything else is kind of connected to that, and then you just kind of have Dalinar over here every now and then trying to figure shit out. Um, but yeah, it's just like science, uh, scholar stuff, basically trying to figure out all this stuff about light. You got freaking stormlight, you got void light, you got life light, you got tower light. And I think that's all of them. And then you got the war light, which is rhythm of war, which is what they end up finding. And they find it through sound and vibration. And at one point, dude, Navani's literally sitting there with her hand on a wall, singing to help the sister or the sibling get like power back and stuff. So it gets pretty like fantastical in that regard. And it was one of the moments that again made me realize, dude, if they ever tried to make this into a film adaptation, scenes like this, there's no way you can make them good. There's no way you can make them good and it not come off as super cheesy.
Yeah, I
Uh,
agree.
but the whole arc I loved. I did hate that Rabanel died in the end, but I thought it was like a good death and like a good ending if she did have to die. Um, so yeah, I mean, what are your other thoughts on Navani and Rabanel and all
Yeah,
that?
I mean, I like Navani a lot. She's a solid character. I think it's hard to not like her after this book.
Yeah.
So I mean, like I said, Rapinoe, I liked her a lot. I like all the fused are very interesting to me.
Yeah. I do like the fused. The thing that was particularly interesting about Rabanel and Leshwi, I guess, is you start to realize that like Rabanel basically in the end you find out like in her dying words that like she just wants the war to be over. Like
And she
she's not
thought
really
Odium
super
was really the only
concerned.
one who could win it.
Yeah, but once she realized that they can make these other forms of light and essentially make something that can kill a god with the light they've made, she's like, I don't care who wins. I just want the wars to be over, the never ending war. You can just get this from her and Leshwi that they're just tired after constantly being
Yeah, just
reawoken to
dying
having
over and
to
over again.
war. Yeah. So, yeah, Navani with
Wait, so that means
Ravenel.
she's coming back, or does she get killed with?
No, she gets killed. So she ends up, Navani explodes her basically. And then by the end of it, the whole thing with Moash happens, where Ravenel helps keep Moash down. And then even after that, after Navani bonds with the sibling and basically banishes Moash with light, Ravenel's still alive. And there's a little bit of void light left in the dagger. And she asks Navani to do that so she can like fully die.
Yeah.
Because she just wants it to be over. So, yeah, I thought that was
Yeah.
the best part of the book overall, like in its full length. And yeah, I mean, Navani's great. She's now a bondsmith, so now we have a bondsmith power couple in Dalinar and Navani, which is pretty sick, pretty dope.
Pretty dope.
So yeah, from there, I mean, those are kind of the big things that happen, actually. Because my
Yeah,
last
Zeth's
note
not
after
really
that
in
is
this.
about, yeah, Zeth's not really in it. He's kind of a tool, like not in a like, oh, he's a douchebag. I mean, like he's kind
Come
of
on,
like just a
man.
tool in the book that makes a couple things happen. Um, but yeah, so now that we've kind of talked about everything that goes down, I mean, what are you thinking happens in the
Time to
future, bro?
go
Which,
down.
by the way, I don't know if we're going to be able to do a reading of the first prologue of the fifth book because I went and looked it up the other day just to see how long it was, dude. I mean, dude, it's going to take like it's by far the longest prologue chapter that we've seen. I mean, dude, I was sitting there trying to get to the end of it, just scrolling.
Really?
So I think we're going to have to actually just read it and maybe do our
I think I
first initial
listened to
reactions and then
Sandy.
talk about it.
There's like one where I think Sandy reads it.
Well, that's the only version there is. The thing you go read online is
Oh,
the
it's a transcript.
transcript of him reading.
How
Yeah, because
long
there's a
is the
couple.
video?
I don't know.
I'll look it up.
I just saw a transcript. I read this is a transcript from him reading it. But like, what do you what do you think it might happen in the future here, bro? Like, just you have any like particular guesses or things that you're expecting or think might happen?
I don't think Moash is gonna die. Oh yeah, it's an
No.
hour of him reading that. It's crazy. I don't think Moash is gonna die. I do think a main character is gonna die. A POV character, I think, almost has to die because you said he's hitting a hard reset after this, or
Yeah.
like it's gonna be some stuff over.
Yeah. So
I don't know. I'm trying to
in
think
case
of
anyone
who.
doesn't know, while you're thinking, what we know for sure from Brandon, and it's all subject to change a little bit, is we're going to get our fifth book in the Stormlight Archive in late 2024 next year, and supposedly Sanderson is taking a 5-year gap after finishing Stormlight 5 before he ever touches any more Stormlight to finish Mistborn Era 3 and Elantris 2 and 3. That is currently where we're at, which makes me sad for two main reasons. One, that's a long time to wait for any more Stormlight. Two, I didn't hear any mention of Warbreaker 2 in there, which is really sad. And then also, in addition to that, it is supposed to be like two main arcs, books 1 through 5, and then 6 through 10. So there is supposed to be somewhat, I don't know if it's a reset or just a time jump. And from what Brandon has said, it's probably going to be about a 10 to 15-year time jump. Which
Yeah,
the only really big implication from that for me is obviously you're going to have an older Dalinar, older Navani, but even more importantly, dude, we're going to have a character that's going to mean a lot more, which is Gavinar. I think he's going to end up Gavinor, maybe it is, end up being really important. But yeah, most people that I've seen on Reddit do also think that one of these main characters is going to die, and most of them, unfortunately for me, think it's going to be Adolin.
Yay!
Which would just suck, man, to take out the one guy that's not a freaking Radiant with superpowers.
Guy with honor.
But it's like, who do you take out, dude? Because it can't be down. Actually, dude,
Loki.
you have two bondsmiths, bro. It could be Dalinar and Navani.
Yeah, I don't think Navani's dying. I think Kaladin's gonna die, dude. I'm gonna go ahead and make a stand right here.
I think Kaladin is the Jesus Christ of this story.
Dies.
I don't think so. I don't think Kaladin dies, man. I don't think Brandon can kill him. Because if I've watched a couple videos and every one of them, dude, when Brandon is asked like one of those on like, oh, we're Googling this or whatever. Tell us about the Way of Kings. Bro, he explains the Way of Kings from Kaladin. Like Kaladin is like the main guy of his story, like in Brandon's mind, it seems. But at the same time, it would make a lot of sense in the sense that
Bro, Kaladin
there's
needs
a
to find
ton of
somebody and
windrunners.
then he can get killed.
Like find a
Wait, what?
a lover.
What do you mean? Did you hear me say that? You just read that Odium dies? Joseph just read that Odium dies.
He did?
Well, he doesn't die. Well,
Odium doesn't die. Race dies.
Yeah. So now there's a new Odium. You're not a fan of that? He said it was too easy.
Too easy? Dude, I didn't see it coming at all.
Well, no, like I think he means like that he just died so easily, which I thought as well. Like, I mean, it was just quickly.
I don't know, man. I think they built up to it really well, and Odium being like scared of Nightblood, and Nightblood being a thing that's like so OP, and it doesn't kill him; it just ruined the vessel. And I don't. And again, and explain this to Joseph. That's not what killed Race. Race died because Zeth stabbed who he thought was Taravangian with Nightblood. We don't really understand what happened because all Taravangian did is when he made that hole and took its place, he swapped places with Race, the man. And then Race died because Zeth killed him.
It was still over in 30 seconds. He was dead.
I mean, yeah, it definitely ended quick. So, but
I think that's what he's saying.
Dude, I think the most likely to die, if I had to guess right now, of the main characters we have is Dalinar.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's the most obvious.
Yeah,
that's why I don't think it's going to be Dalinar. Because I feel like he's going to do some bullcrap. I can tell you who I hope it is.
I can tell you it's not going to be her. Whichever one you're talking about, it's not going to be her. So let's talk about that too then. And this is like spoilers if you don't want to know like stuff that's down in the future. It's subject to change, but WOBs, as they call them on Reddit, Words of Brandon, according to those, let me find the text. So it's all but confirmed that Zeth is the flashback character of book 5.
That's gonna be huge. I'm loving that.
Yeah, which is gonna be great. And
I
he
feel
would
like
be the
Zeth
Skybreaker.
I think Zeth has siblings. I'm gonna put that out there.
Just
Zeth
a bunch of honor blading wielding.
Who's a savage? I'm gonna call that, dude. Or what if he has a twin brother? Anyway, I'm gonna call that. I'm gonna call somehow Zeth has a relative that's gonna play huge implications. I feel like that's not even
major problem.
Yeah. Ooh, that would be cool. If they are a major problem in a bad way, that'd be sick. Could
be. Okay, so book 5 Zeth.
Where's Zahel?
Order. I mean, you don't get any Zahel.
So I'm saying, dude. Maybe he doesn't matter in the story.
I mean, he's off being Vasher maybe on another world. Who knows? He just does what he wants. But
true. All right, keep going. Sorry.
So book 5 Zeth, book 6, the one you should be most excited for.
If it's Lift, I'm not reading it.
Lift, and you're gonna read it.
Story mark. I swear to God, I won't. I will. I'll stop.
Lift has grown on me the more time that's gone by.
I was hoping she was gonna die.
She's just stepping up to the plate.
When she almost died, I was like,
I just don't mind her as much as I first did. But book 6 Lift, book 7.
And that's what sucks, bro. I don't want freaking flashbacks of Lift. I don't want it. I know I don't.
Well, you're gonna get them. Book 7, Renarin. Now this one is exciting.
That one I want.
That's super exciting.
I don't know what I'm gonna learn, but
yeah, I mean I don't either. Book 8, Ash or Shalash, which is the Herald. She's the Herald that's with Taun. She's the one that was covering up her face in paintings and stuff in that one interlude from The Way of Kings. She's slightly insane.
I mean, is she even relevant right now? So there's gonna have to be
right now, not very relevant. No, for that but she's a daughter of Jezreel. That's really all the other things I know about her. Book 9, this is a big one, is Talon, Talinalat, which I mean that's gonna be sick, dude. To get to see the Herald who stayed, the Herald who stepped up.
Yeah, that'll really be some. I mean, it's gonna be going back so far. I feel like.
Yeah, which is going to be sick because you're getting closer to the end, but also getting like more stuff at the beginning. And then book 10, and this
I thought
is honestly perfect to me. No, Talon's not dead.
Who's the one that died? That like
Jezreel
was putting everybody on their back. Oh,
No, that was Town that put everybody on their back.
Oh, but he's not dead. They
But he's not
killed.
dead.
Okay,
They killed Jezreel. Then book 10, and this is honestly probably the one I'm most excited for. It seems perfect that the last book would be this character. Book 10 is supposedly going to be none other than Jasna Colon.
Oh.
Which
Sorry.
Which is just going to be great. But Jake pointed out that if that's the case, that means it's not going to be what everybody assumed, which was that each book was going to be a different order of radiance that got the flashback, because this is missing a Dustbringer. So, fun fact, it looks like we are not getting a Dustbringer flashback book. According to this, I'm sure it's subject to change. Ash is the patron of Lightweavers.
We've already had Shallan.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I know that. Let me double check that. I know she's not the Dustbringer one, though, because that's
my fault, dude. I didn't even realize what I did right there. I really wasn't even trying to do that.
Hey, dude, guess what? I hate you.
Dude, I really wasn't.
Okay, so I'm sorry. It's so no, I'm sorry. I'm not sorry because I'm right, but
I mean, this is all conjecture.
So Shanarach is the Order of Dustbringers, and then Shalash is Lightweavers. Which have you heard the Chinar? Shut up,
dude. When is it? Where is this even at in the books? Who are these people?
These are all the heralds, dude. What are you talking about?
Dude,
Dude, I've been doing some Coppermind reading, brother.
Oh, I know. I can tell. You've been ruining things for yourself.
This is all stuff that's that's known. I mean, I'm caught up at this point, dude. Why would I care?
All right, dude. Yeah, you don't care. I get it.
I mean, why would I not learn these things? I was just trying to learn all the heralds and which one's associated with what and what all the. I mean, dude, there's an entire graph. Let me show you this picture, dog. There's this entire graph that explains all of the different orders. And
dude, I can totally see that.
I mean, I know you can't read it, but it's got stone words, and they're connected to tension and cohesion. Will Shaper. Can you even hear? I just realized I'm so far away from the mic. I could hear. And then you have Will Shapers. They're connected to cohesion and transportation. Elsecallers, transportation and transformation, and then so on and so forth. They're all two surges combined. That's how you get an order of radiance. So the Wind runners are adhesion and where's the other one they're connected to? Adhesion and I guess it's gravitation. Yeah, gravitation.
Suffocation, no breathing.
Skybreakers are gravitation and division. Anyway, did you know that Skybreakers can touch people and make them burn?
That's. I mean, we haven't really even seen Skybreakers other than freaking what's his nuts, Nail. But we don't
Either
really.
Way,
I mean,
we just kind of went off on a little Herald thing there, but trying to think of what other important stuff there is.
We can always make another video of implications.
We'll definitely have a Cosmere talk, and we'll have to do the. I mean, we've got so many other Cosmere books to read.
I'll have to have Jake on for that. Hopefully, he understands more than I do.
I mean, dude, there's 7 Mistborn books we need to read. There's Elantris, Tress, Yumi, and the Sunlit Man. That's 11 books. The Emperor's Soul makes 12. There's the White Sand books that are apparently in Cosmere, but those are graphic novels. There's just so much going on in the Cosmere, dude. And all I know is that Taravangian is about to ruin everybody's plans.
I have a feeling his plans are insignificant somehow.
Taravangians?
I just feel like he's not the most powerful. You know what I mean?
I don't know, man.
I feel like there's other people out there that we just haven't met.
I mean, I feel like the other shards are I guess, just as powerful or on the same level as him.
And I mean, I feel like it's not a shocker that someone with a shard wants the other shards. I mean, you know what I mean? So they can't be that surprised.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I do think it's cool, though, how they're all essentially bound to these oaths as well. That's the foundation of this entire world of the Cosmere.
Yeah.
Is everything being bonds and oaths. And if you break any of them, it's all hell breaks loose. We can just kill you. But anyway, is there anything else from Rhythm of War we haven't discussed?
No, not that I can remember. I mean, I'm sure there is 'cause so much happens, but I mean, we've covered.
Yeah,
I mean, I think as
I'm sure
much
we're
as
missing
possible.
something huge.
Huge,
So much happened, but
huge.
biggest thing is Old Tam Vagina is now Odium himself. So we will. I guess we won't be back on the Stormlight Archive until
I mean,
November of next year.
well, I guess we'll be doing more
Cosmere,
Cosmere
we'll be in
stuff.
here into
Yeah,
Cosmere. We'll get before that book comes out. We'll get all of Mistborn knocked out and these other Cosmere books. We got like 11 books to read.
yeah, we got a year.
Over the next year, so we've got plenty of time.
Big trust.
If we left anything out in Rhythm of War, please leave a comment down below about it. If you're watching this on YouTube, like, comment, and subscribe. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify or wherever you get podcasts, please also rate, review, subscribe, do all the things, share, hit our links on all of our whatnot, yada yada yada.
At recording, we're at 334.
Hmm?
Right now, we're at 334 subscribers.
Yeah, so I mean the clan is growing, but please do comment. The only people commenting right now are Loach's school students.
There's no chance.
School students.
There's no chance they're still in the chat here. They're still watching this video. So
yeah,
if you are,
shout out.
Well, no, they're not. So like the people that are watching this, don't be scared by the 13-year-old boys who are commenting on these videos. All right,
yeah,
they're not
really
the real.
Out.
They're not the real core of our audience. I promise.
Yeah. But yeah, coming up, we will have some more fantasy. We're reading the second in the Bloodsworn trilogy by John Gwynne, The Hunger of the Gods. Right now, we do have some nonfiction coming up as well in reading a biography on none other than Napoleon Bonaparte by Andrew Roberts. And we'll do that in conjunction with the Ridley Scott movie starring Joaquin Phoenix about Napoleon as well. So some fun stuff coming up. I think that's it. You got anything else, my friend?
Yeah, the Rise and Fall coming up. Eventually, we'll do the wager.
Yeah, and we've got some guests coming up on a few podcasts here as well. We're going to start.
I think all of them should have guests, other than
several of our upcoming.
All the nonfiction.
Yeah. So yeah, in the comments, please let us know if there's books you want us to read. Check out our Goodreads and whatever and all that stuff. And thanks for listening. It's Lit Book Reviews. We out.
Peace.
The Nike Cayman.